Hello, everyone. Welcome. MTL Sports here. Episode 125, NFL Week 8 is almost wrapped up. We got one more game tonight. Steelers and Giants should be an interesting Monday Night Football game, but we're going to cover Thursdays and Sundays games of the NFL Week 8. Plus, I guess we can recap some UFC over the weekend. Big primetime pay-per-view fight that happened over in Abu Dhabi, I think it was. Plus some NBA recap. We'll do all that. So, with all that being said, guys, stay tuned. We're back. NFL Week 8 recap. I guess we can just go down the list. Let's see here. Let's pull up the good old ESPN score sheet. This is Giants Steelers tonight. Pittsburgh is about a touchdown favorite. So it'll be interesting to see if they can cover Russ' second game. He's going to start in front of Justin Fields. Should be interesting. But
So for the games, right? Can I pop a few questions at you?
let's hear it.
All right. So first and foremost, what are your thoughts on I don't know if you watched it or not, but I'm pretty confident you did. The Eagles and the Bengals, the second half, like, I don't know the best way to put it. The second half,
Debacle.
they're just a bland, like the lack of like consistency with the whole entire Bengals. Like,
The debacle.
it just felt like there was no plan on offense, and it allowed the Eagles to just take over, in which they did.
Yeah, definitely watched that one. It was on multi-view. Actually, it was on my laptop because at first the first multi-views on YouTube, I noticed this on Sunday Ticket sometimes. The first multi-views aren't always all of them. So, like, when I clicked out and then clicked back at halftime, they added more. I was like, why don't you guys just have this up at the beginning? But it's not the here nor there. Yeah, it was a debacle. I think missing that field goal really stopped the momentum. We could have been up, what? We would have been up 3 instead of what? I think it was tied at halftime, right?
hmm
So that was a bummer. It was 54 yards, but McPherson usually makes those. He's been off from 50 plus this year, so it's a little strange. But yeah, second half offense, it clicked at times, but they just couldn't finish drives. Went back to how it was in the first half or the first couple of games of the season, where the drives just weren't sustained. It was like a couple of plays here and there, and then just couldn't get to the end zone. As simple as that. To go for it on 4th and 1 with that play, it's pretty freaking ridiculous. At the very least, like, use Chase as a decoy. Don't just, everyone that mom knows Chase is going to get the ball. Just use him as a decoy. It's 4th and 1. You can't run the ball, so just use Chase as a decoy, and then go for Gesicki. He was hot. You could have just threw an easy little 2-yard pass for him. So I think it really started right there, Lawrence. And Eagles had good field position. Then the next drive, I think Joe threw that interception that was tipped back into Gardner Johnson. Not a bad pass by Joe, just a better play on defense. And I think that's where it really derailed. I think they lost their confidence after that. So, yeah,
So,
3-5. It's not a good look.
yeah, so that's my next part for this question. Since you're the Bengals fan here, you're 3-5. What's the goal of the season now? Is there a pivot? Is it still playoffs or bust?
It's playoffs or bust. You gotta, like Joe said, you gotta win the next 7 out of 9. 10 wins probably gets you a spot. But how the AFC is playing right now, it's tough to say. Even 10-7 is gonna get you there. I mean, in the division, there's not a clear leader, right? Because the Browns beat the Ravens last night. So I'm pretty sure no one has 2 wins over any of the teams right now. I think we're 1-1, the Ravens are 1-1, Browns are 1-1. So there's still hope to win the division. Just got to play well within the division. But as it looks right now, it's looking less and less likely. So, and if we were to pivot, who do we pivot to? Because T is hurt. No one's going to pay premium from T if he's hurt all the damn time. His second injury this season, so you can't pivot to trade him. You can't trade Trey because he's your only pass rusher, and yeah, he'd probably be a hot commodity. But if you trade him, you don't really have anyone in the future that could even replicate some of his successes. So it's not really a move. And you already basically committed to pay Jamar. You just, if you're Mike Brown, you just gotta wait till your cash flow is in order so you can give him his money. So you just kind of play off a bust. You can't really trade any pieces because you only have one or two that you can trade, and they wouldn't get market value right now.
This is fair. I feel there's some teams out there that will take what you have, um, like a Zach Moss. It's kind of clear now that Chase Brown is kind of the focal point. You
Hmm.
can move off. You can move off Zach Moss. Some teams may or may not need that. Like if you're looking around the league, Jacksonville could be like a contender for that. But would they pay for him? Who knows? But that's just one of those teams that's out there that doesn't have a running back. Maybe someone who wants to bolster, their core of running backs. That could
Yeah.
work. Because like we're trying to nickel and dime here at this point. Like you get a nickel and dime owner, and right now it's like receiving wise, Gasecki was your leading wide receiver in the game. You'll have that because sometimes tight ends are a good matchup against another team. But that was my question to you is like, are there pieces or, you know, I think you have a love hate relationship with Can Taylor Britt. Um, some teams that might be in need of a corner. Do you think that getting rid of him and trading him kills your season, or
I mean, historically, the Bengals don't really trade people. They don't trade people, or they don't trade for people. So I don't see any of this happening. Today's press conference, Zach Taylor said that they like their team. They just gotta continue to build, and everyone has to play better, which has been the message all season. So they're not gonna make any moves. This is what we got. We gotta make the best of it. Um, I
well,
think
3-5 is not the most ideal spot. One of those was a guaranteed win against Carolina.
we gotta wait till we get to the bye to assess if we want to full on tank or if playoffs are feasible. I think we got to buy in week 12, so we got 4 more weeks. I think in 4 weeks we'll know if we can make the playoffs or not. Because I would rather, this is speaking a little bit early, but I would rather, I would rather tank for a top five pick, get Travis Hunter somewhere, in that if we can get a top five pick, get Travis Hunter, and we'll go from there. But this organization is a little dysfunctional, so I can't really speak. I can't say too much because it's pretty much unspoken what they're gonna do. So
So, follow-up questions um, about different games because this was a divisional game that I'm going to bring up, uh, and I know you had to have watched it because it directly reflects and affects you. I mean, that's the Browns and the Ravens. And after seeing the final score and seeing the results that played out, I mean, is it insane to believe that Jameis Winston should have been starting 3 weeks ago? And how much glory do we give Jameis Winston for this performance? I mean, he looked outstanding. He made the plays he had to. Um, he didn't really have a running game, and when it mattered most, he got lucky. He did
yeah, he did. He
because
did.
Kyle Hamilton, by
Should have
all
picked that
means, should
off.
have had that. Should have had it. So, is it more like a Ravens collapse? Because if you remember last year, I'm pretty confident the Ravens were kind of known for their collapses. And if you remember this season, they almost collapsed against the Cowboys. So is that just a Ravens thing this year?
No, I think it's a two-part answer, Lawrence. I feel like I don't necessarily think this was, the whole time, like you said, should Jameis have started the whole time? No, I don't believe that. I think, one, he got lucky to go against the Ravens. They're dead last in pass defense. That plays into his favor as a gunslinger who's just going to take risk on big plays. That risk is diminished even more if you're going against the last ranked team in pass defense. So that's why his numbers are the way they are. And then two, I think the Ravens are kind of on a high right now, and I feel like the Browns are playing for they own house money right now. They're selling. They sold Mari Cooper. They got other players on the trade deadline, on the trading block, which Shefty said today. A couple of Browns players might be dealt by Tuesday, so they're playing with house money. Stefanski, I think he relinquished play calling duties, so he's not calling plays anymore. So it's just house money. They got nothing to lose. So with that being said, it's just, hey, let's play free. If we win, we win. We lose, we lose. And the Ravens are like, hey, we got this one in the bag. If Cincinnati can beat the Browns, we damn sure can beat the Browns. And look at it. They didn't beat the Browns. Lamar didn't play well. He did have a couple drops from his receivers. You look at the Bateman drop. I think Zay Flowers had a big drop. But at the end of the day, you didn't win. So you get some of the blame here. And some of the blame goes to the Ravens offensive coordinator. And I said this a couple weeks ago, Lawrence. Remember when I said, well, the Ravens keep looking to, boost Lamar's numbers to make him go back-to-back MVPs?
Yeah.
Or should they do the more realistic, the more obvious decision, which is just run the hell out the ball? D. Henry is leading the league in rushing. And you see from the screen, dude had 11 carries for 73 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, if you just ran the ball more, he's averaging 6 yards a carry against a Browns defense that, they're pretty good against the run, but they weren't good on this particular Sunday. So maybe it's because they were playing from behind a lot of the game, Lawrence. I feel like, they weren't behind, but in the third quarter, yeah, they got behind. So maybe that's why they couldn't run the ball as much as they wanted to, but still. It's a little crazy. The Ravens, they're gonna do some of those things, but it's just very indicative of how their season is going. One day you dominate using King Henry, and then you have a random game like this where you try to dominate with Lamar, and it bites you in the ass.
Yeah. If I noticed a cool stat earlier when I was hanging out with my coworker, and in 2019 and 2020 were the peaks for Lamar's rushing. He went over 1,000 yards rushing those two
Led his
seasons.
team led the team in rushing those 2 years, right?
Yeah. In the last 2 years, he has not eclipsed 800 yards rushing. So he's grown as a quarterback, but now he's kind of taking back steps in the running game. I feel like they just don't run the ball as much as they should, like with quarterback carries. And it's not like he has to get laid out every play. He can literally run a very easy, uh, option play. Get rid of it if needed. Uh, run it if needed. Hand it off if needed, and slide. He's proven he knows how to slide. So it just feels like there's just a lack of thereof in his ground game in the last few seasons. And I feel like it's like a little bit of an overcompensation to try to prove that one, he is he is not just a running quarterback. But I can tail that into another game, which I feel like is a big fat jump forward because it does skip some of the 1 o'clock games, but I think it ties in very well. And that's the Dak Prescott Cowboys. And there were so many plays that in that game, it's just like, why doesn't Dak just take off and just run it for 5-6 yards? Because there's no one. If you watch the game, there was almost never a quarterback spy, because they just realized Dak was never running out of the pocket. And I feel like Dak, something they were talking about was they wanted him to work on his footwork and be better on his footwork at the game. But his running game's not working. He's not applying any pressure to make his running game better because he's not getting out of the pocket. And I think I remember when Dak was younger, he used to run a lot more than he does now. And it feels like now he's just trying to prove it that he's a world class quarterback. But there were some plays that if he just ran for 3 yards, 4 yards, especially that the play where he threw the interception deep in their own end. It's like, dude, if you just ran it, you could have had a first, or at least you give yourself a chance. And in that situation, you're kind of almost thinking, well, we might have to go for it anyways. But still, it feels like he is purposely not running to prove a point that he's a quarterback or prove that he's a good thrower of the ball quarterback. And he's ending games with 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more so he wants to prove that because we all know he can sling the ball. We all know that. I feel like ever since he injured his ankle, right? I feel like he's been hesitant to run the ball. I feel like it might be kind of like a traumatic experience for him because didn't he like break his ankle? It wasn't just like a sprained ankle; like he broke his ankle, and I don't think it was really good. So I feel like he doesn't want to go through that experience again. So possibly that could be playing into it. Also, I feel like ever since that injury, he's been a little bit limited in his mobility. So like you said, he was supposed to work on his mobility, his footwork this off season. Doesn't look like that's kind of where he spent a lot of his time. It kind of looks like he spent his time trying to get his money. So I don't know. I mean, historically, we look at these Kyle Shanahan 49ers teams. Their Achilles heel is mobile quarterbacks. They've gotten the best of them. If you look at Lamar, you look at Mahomes. They can't beat Mahomes. Even Joe last year was really mobile against them, moving with his feet, extending plays and stuff like that. Even Kyler's had success. So within the division. So you think the big Mike McCarthy would try to exploit that, but it's hard to do that when you got some dum-dums over there. So I'm not surprised with this outcome. He can gunsling, but in terms of running, yeah, that's a whole nother discussion about the Cowboys.
I guess to follow up on that, what is the record the Cowboys have to get McCarthy fired in season?
Jerry's not gonna fire him because Jerry doesn't believe in paying people not to do their job, so he's not gonna fire. I mean, maybe if they started out 0-8 or something like that, something crazy like that, or their bye was last week, so if they had started out like 1-6 or 0-6 or 0-7, something like that, maybe he would have fired McCarthy. But if there's any glimmer of hope, Jerry's just gonna keep riding with McCarthy and get rid of him after the season. There's no. They're kind of like the Bengals. We already know what they're gonna do. It's all dysfunction, and there's nothing that is going to change their mind, aka Jerry's mind.
I like that. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Our Cardinals got a big win, though. I did enjoy that. Both me and you have both been pretty Cardinals favorited, or Cardinals fanboys to an extent.
Yeah,
and I thought it was a pretty good win. Because they were making a big deal about the Tua comeback, and Tua didn't look bad at all. It was just simply the fact that Kyler Murray looked better.
Yeah, this was on the multi-view. I knew this was going to be a good game. This is going to be a prove-it game. And I think I don't know if we said last week on air or we might have said it offline, but we were like, Dolphins defense is kind of bad. Kyler should play well, even though it's on the road. And he did. I can't complain with the results. Hard fought win. I think they're well on their way to getting that over that you predicted earlier in the season when we did some of the overs on win totals. So I think they're about halfway there. So yeah, they played well.
Yeah, I said over 7. Their thing was 7.5. I honestly thought that was a little high for the Cardinals because they weren't projected to be that great. But I thought it's like 6.5 is like a guarantee. 7.5 is it's a pretty strong possibility. And for the Dolphins, it, it's like it's the same boat as the Bengals, but in a different aspect. At least the Bengals have the out of winning their division still, because they're living in a competitive division. If you're the Dolphins, you're part of a division that has multiple 2-win teams, with one team that's leaps and bounds above you,
Yep.
who only has more fuel to the fire because their arch enemy, even they're having a good season, their arch enemy is still undefeated because the refs carry them to wins every game. Um, didn't really need to against the Raiders, but still, there's 3 wins in there that have asterisks on them. So, that being said, if you're the Dolphins, I mean, Tua didn't even want to wear his Guardian cap. We're kind
Yep.
of iffy on the fact that whether or not the Guardian cap is fully functional and what it does. But Devon A-Chain's wearing it, and he's known to have some concussions, and he hasn't been concussed recently. And we saw Tua make a run. It was nice to watch him slide. So this is why the win for this Cardinals is even bigger because of the Tua coming back. But honestly,
Yeah.
like, are we really thinking the Dolphins are just going to let it ride? They're not going to make any moves um, if this continues the way it is. I mean, because they're on the path to not make the playoffs either.
Well, I would say if they don't have a first round pick, which I think they do this year. So if they have the first round pick, they just might as well tank. I feel like having a fire sale isn't in their best interest. I feel like, you know, Tua, he got hurt. It's unfortunate. When Tua was out, they didn't look like the Dolphins. In his first game back, they looked like the Dolphins. It's just, it's their defense. Honestly, the defense it's just bad. They just lost too many people and tried at the last minute to replace all the people that they lost. And I feel like they did a pretty bad job about that. So that's just something they have to address in the offseason. They're not. I don't think they're in a position to move pieces to get picks. I feel like they'll just be wasting their future because I feel like they got a good core. Just keep the core together. At this point, like you said, maybe you push for the playoffs. Jets are bad. Patriots are bad. The Bills, far and away the best team in the division, Lawrence. But so the Bills, you maybe. I mean, it depends on the rest of the AFC, who catches fire and who kind of stays ice the rest of the way. But it's not looking good for the Dolphins for sure.
That's fair. Yeah, the Dolphins for me, it feels like the defense has proven in the games that Tua wasn't there, that they can keep the game close. I think outside of the Seattle game is the only exception. Um, but when Tua was there, the defense just completely took the day off. Which
Yeah.
is it's like if you played like you did before, you probably beat the Cardinals, but you didn't. So, and I think the only other game to really discuss and value right now, I mean, other than the fact that the Jets are literally throwing away everything because they have an aging quarterback, but I mean that wasn't really a great game.
Nah, it was bad.
The Falcons game, to be honest with you, I think it's a little impressive of the Buccaneers to stay that close with the Falcons, given the roster makeup that they had. No Godwin, no Evans. Pretty much your number one target is a tight end named Cade Otton, which he's no slouch,
He's
but
decent.
that's just reeks of trouble.
Yeah.
Baker didn't have a great game, but it was very obviously Baker's trying to force things, and I mean obviously right now Kirk Cousins just looks. It's the difference, like you got Aaron Rodgers and you got Kirk Cousins, both coming off ACLs, or not, sorry, Achilles,
Achilles.
and only one looks good and the other one looks like he doesn't belong.
Well, one's 40 and one's, what, 35, 36? I think that's the big
36.
difference. Yeah, that's the big difference here. One guy looks like an old man, with no mobility. One looks like a slightly younger old man with no mobility, but he can
No,
still play. That's the
well,
difference.
because Kurt is not moving. I mean, he has not proven his mobility at all, but he's just getting rid of the ball so fast.
Yeah. And the offensive line is better in Atlanta. So that's something to do with it as well. To be honest, I didn't watch this game, so I can't say too much. But Kirk's been gunslinging all year, and I'm not surprised by this. He has a lot of weapons, and if you give him weapons and you give him a decent O line, these are the things that he can do.
No, the only other thing to talk about is Malik Willis is 3-0. Technically, Jordan Love started this game, so
Yeah,
you don't technically give it to Willis. But in my mind, I think you give this game to Willis because he's the one who made the last two drives to keep them and win the game. Keep them in the
yeah.
game and win the game.
He's he's the saving grace. He gets the credit for this one. Jordan Love, coming back from injury, he's been a little on one game, off the next. Unfortunately, he got hurt again. I think it was a groin. And Malik Willis just stepped right back up, and he held off the Jags that were making a comeback. So shout out to Malik Willis. The Titans, you really fumbled the bag on this one. All you had to do was give the guy some help, give him some coaching, which he refused to do. And Green Bay gets him for scraps, and he looks like a starting quarterback. Like, it's just that simple.
So that's the next question: is this coming off season? You paid scraps from Malik Willis, and all he's proven is to go 3-0 so far with you.
Yeah.
And starting next year, like, okay, he's a good backup quarterback to have. That is not a lie because it's proven that he's worth something.
Yep.
But you could turn scraps into, riches. You might be able to
Yeah.
turn what you gave away for like a sixth round pick, I think he was, to like a third. Because some team might be willing to pay a third to have that level of a backup. And if you're
Yeah.
the Packers and you believe in Jordan Love, all you need is a competent backup. I mean, someone to come in there when needed, because we got a guy. And
Yeah.
it's not like you were trying to plan to have Willis around for a while. I think this Willis move was to prove that Willis could play and to prove that there was value in, it's one of those things like, okay, putting the stake on Willis is kind of one of those things like, okay, I'm going to have this 6 leg parlay and I know I'm going to win some of these legs. But
Yep.
my later legs, I'm more afraid of. And by the end of the season, there are going to be 5 legs gone from this parlay. Now, do I keep them and complete the parlay? But now I'm up $100 more than I started with. Do I cash it and do I try to spread the money around elsewhere instead of hoping for that last leg? Because I'm not fully confident in that last leg. That's kind of how I'm leaning towards Willis. But I mean, at this point, you have rags to riches with this man.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I feel like he's proven himself. He's looked vastly improved in Green Bay. And like you said, this was pretty much a flyer for Green Bay. They didn't give up much to give a guy a chance that, they believed in. It seemed like the Titans didn't believe in him because they didn't, right? And, he has 3 wins under his belt. He's looked composed. He's looked, accurate passing the ball. You can tell he's been coached up. So, if you're the Packers, it depends on Jordan Love. Does he finish the season injured? If he finishes the season injured, you probably re-sign Willis to be your backup going forward. If Jordan Love can finish the season, you make the playoffs, then you probably look at, trading him for whatever you can get. Like you said, a third is probably his ceiling, but who knows? I feel like a team like, obviously the Raiders are going to be looking to draft a quarterback, but hey, maybe you bring in Malik Willis to, kind of be like Jacoby Brissett to Drake May. Just have him start a couple games, let the rookie learn. Yeah, I think the Raiders is probably the best example of a team that he could go to start for a short period of time. Because he's not going back to Tennessee. Pretty much everyone else has a quarterback, so I feel like that's probably one spot to look out for.
Yeah, it's got to be a team also that's desperate enough, and the Raiders are also desperate enough.
Yeah. Uh, in terms of other games I watched, I think we covered all of them. Like you said, the Jets versus the Patriots. Aaron Rodgers just looks bad. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Packers Jags, we just talked about that. Colts Texans. This was this is the only other game I watched, Lawrence, and this was we can talk about the Bears Commanders, but Colts Texans. Honestly, I think C.J. Stroud was rattled. They really got to him. The Colts defense. It just we're seeing a young quarterback who he tapped out. Had to get a breather, and whether you like it or not, yeah, I feel like that probably kind of derailed their chance to win because I felt like they had the Texans number. I felt like just Anthony Richardson with his inexperience, he hasn't had many starts. We talked about that before. That kind of cost them the game. I feel like if Joe Flacco started this game, they probably would have won. I feel like their defense was playing pretty good. Jonathan Taylor looked like Jonathan Taylor. It just comes back to a common denominator. And I guess my question to you is, at this point, you're 4-4. Do they go to Joe Flacco? Do they go to old man Joe, Lawrence? Because you're right there. You can probably sneaky win this division if you wanted to.
I would go to old man Flacco, only because personally I feel like you would have lost some of the locker room with that move. Like it would have been different, right? Like let's say he had a scramble and he ran equivalent of like 110 yards on a scramble.
Yeah.
He was running side to side, up and down the field, got you a first down. This is the big part. Got you a first down, and then was like, come on, I gotta tap out. I need like I need oxygen for like a second. Like that's different. Like you can understand that one, but like he didn't do a whole lot. He came out on a third down, so like now you're gonna throw in Joe Cold on a third down. So they're pretty much limited to only running the ball.
Yeah.
Because you're not about to just throw Joe out there. He's not even worn up on the sidelines tossing the ball back and forth. Because, we haven't even... There's been no prep for injuries. So I think he lost a little bit of people.
I don't think a little bit. I think a lot of bit because...
Well,
it's
McAfee,
just insane.
When McAfee turns on you, it's pretty much over.
And he loves Anthony Richardson, and the way that Pat was talking about him today on the show, I think he's kind of out on. I think he's pretty much out on Anthony Richardson. I feel like when you got one of your biggest alums, he was a big supporter of you, and you do something boneheaded like that, and he's kind of disapproves like that. I think you got to move on, at least temporarily. I think Joe, until he can show that he can't win, I think he has to go in there, kind of fix his ship.
Yes. Now, this Bears, you were talking about that Bears Nation, hopping on that little wagon you were trying to hop on yesterday.
No, I was
you little
only
jinx.
trolling.
You
only
little
trolling.
jinx. You a jinx. But
anybody knows me knows I troll a lot, but yeah,
in all honesty, the Bears did not deserve to win this game. They, in my clear eyes, like the fact that the ball fell perfectly to him in the end zone, and he just got to turn around and celebrate with the fans as he caught it.
Yeah,
was just one, karma for the guy celebrating and showboating and talking trash before the play, and then two, it's just one of those moments where a guy throws up a free throw after getting fouled, quote unquote, and it was very clear that he didn't get fouled, and then the ball magically makes sure it does not go in. Like the ball is proving like ball don't lie.
Even before that, when they tried to give the lineman the ball on first and goal on the 1 and he fumbled, like what are we doing? No, it wasn't first. It wasn't like third and goal or something, and they give it to the lineman. What are you doing? Just push. You have Caleb Williams. He's huge. Just fucking QB sneak your ass in the end zone, bro.
He might break a nail.
Why are we trying to be
cute?
cute?
Do that. He might break a nail.
I know he might be a little zesty, and people may or may not like that. I'm not here to judge, but he's a big dude. Just take your big behind and just you have 1 yard to get, bro. You can't do that. You big as hell. Come on now.
There's levels to this game, right? Like we can compare. Well, first off, in my opinion, I think Zach Ertz, when the game was 6-0, I think Zach Ertz scored that touchdown. Um, I don't know how they said he didn't get that touchdown, but he clearly took the ball all the way to the ground, lost control of the ball while when hitting the ground. And
Yeah.
I've always been under the impression that a ground can't cause a fumble, so therefore he caught that ball and
Well,
he was
that's
in the
just
end zone.
like that's not the first questionable, you know, touchdown or no touchdown of the day. There's the one in the
Well,
Philly game where they reviewed it and they said the ball was over the goal line, but honestly, there was no clear indication that the ball was in the end zone. That was just me. And then they zoom in and circle fucking Jalen Hurts' elbow and said, "Oh, that's the ball." Like, bro, how stupid can you be? But that's not the here nor there. So it's not the first bad call of the day. But go
I,
on.
I mean, I also thought the Commanders scored two touchdowns that were just called back. Like, it felt very clear that the refs were trying everything to help the Bears win,
Yeah,
in my personal opinion. I'm not a Commanders fan or anything. I'm not a Bears hater or anything, even though they took everything from me. Um, it's just nothing about this game felt like the Bears should have even been that close,
yeah,
and they
and
were.
like I said, they had two chances. One they punched in at the very last second to go up. You know, I think Washington needed a score. Uh, but if the big boy just doesn't fumble, if they don't do that stupid cute play and they just give to Swift or QB sneak Williams, they're already up, and then you don't have to worry about a Hail Mary at the end of the game. So this is on the Bears. They're stupid.
You also got to look at the fact that what was it? Matt Eberflus came out and said after the game. I mean, he said the main job was to prepare for the Hail Mary, and Jan Quinn said the main job was to get 20 yards to get to the point to throw a probable Hail Mary. I
Yeah,
mean,
because
we're
if you
not
look
even
at it,
talking about this if they don't even allow that easy 15, 16-yard gain that he had on an out route.
yeah, because if you look at it, when Jayden threw the ball, it came down like 5 yards in front of the end zone. So he didn't have enough. He didn't put enough on it to get it there. So if they don't make that little short pass like you're talking about, it doesn't even get close. You know. So this is on the Bears. This is on the
Alrighty.
Bears. Yeah, that's all I watched. I think I don't know if you want to talk about your Panthers or you want to. The Lions we don't need to talk about. That was just an ass whooping. But if you want to
No, you
talk
don't
about
need
the
to talk about those
Chargers,
Panthers. I mean, do you want to talk about the Bradley Bozeman trying to kill a man for trying to hurt his quarterback? I think that was the most memorable part of that game. Um,
yeah, I'm 100% down with that. The Saints are always we talked about this in the group chat. The Saints, like who else but the Saints? Like they're just 30. Like this is nothing new. This is just their culture, and it's pretty sick,
yeah,
sickening, I should
he
say.
he was legitimately trying to break Herbert's leg.
Yeah.
But no, the
Uh,
Panthers looked as awful as ever. Typical, typical.
Fair enough. Not gonna kick a man while he's down. Uh, I guess quickly
I
let's move
mean,
on to NBA before we move on
you're
to some
gonna
UFC.
you're gonna kick me while I'm down with UFC. So
I didn't watch it. Hey, I was working, and then I took a little trip to DC to watch the Wiz. But I'll start with Thursday's games. Celtics Wizards. I don't even think we went over that, but uh, Thunder Nuggets. Nuggets just do not look good. Thunder look like a juggernaut. Even in this game, you could tell that they are not to be trifled with. Chet looked really good. I mean, look, 25-14, 4 blocks. You can tell he's really technically his third season, but his second season playing. You can tell that he really put a lot of work in the offseason. And then Shea's just being Shea. Nuggets, I told you offline, they don't look the same without KCP, and it's pretty apparent. Um,
I think so far all it's proven is Michael Porter is not it. And that's the piece they need to replace.
and I think we were talking about it's either him or Aaron Gordon. Well, they extended Aaron Gordon for another 4 years, so it looks like he's the guy that they need to make the decision on if he's worth the pay a near supermax or not. But um, Friday, I don't even did I watch any of these games? Honestly, I don't think I watched any of these games. Oh no, I watched Suns Lakers. Lakers are hot. They're playing well. JJ has them playing really well. Um, yeah, I think I said it in the preview for the Lakers season. I feel like JJ's not going to make any boneheaded decisions. He's going to have clear expectations. He's going to have a way better defined offense. And you can see it. Just look at the Lakers. Look at all the action. Look at all the pin downs, the screens, all the pick and rolls, the double pick and rolls, the pick and pops. Just a lot of the action and the offense they run is all very designed well, and just something that they haven't done in years because D Ham is just a defensive coach. Yeah, he can coach defense, but you gotta score in the NBA, dude, and you gotta have good rotations. And D Ham is just not. He's just not that guy. And when people make boneheaded plays like D'Angelo tends to do, JJ took his ass out. So I'm loving JJ. He's what the Lakers needed. My Heat beat the Hornets on Saturday. Didn't really get to watch too much of that because I was at the Wiz game. I'll talk about the Wiz quickly. So my thoughts. The fit, I feel like the fit's still not there. Poole's, I think Poole is still a problem. I think him and Kuzma now having a little bit of whose team is it, whose turn is it type of thing going on right now. Kuzma did not play well. Poole did not play well, although he did have a nice little stretch in the second quarter near the end of the half. Koulibaly, It looks like he grew a little bit. He definitely bulked up a little bit. He's playing better defense. He's shooting better. I'm liking what I see from him. Alex Sarr though, I don't know, Lawrence. He's a big body. He's a kid that can alter shots, but his 3-point shot is real ugly. I don't think he needs to be shooting threes. And other than that, he's pretty limited offensively. So this is going to be a growing pain for them. The kid, he just needs experience. Hopefully, the experience is for the good. He can develop. But so far, a couple games in, he's looked it looks kind of rough. And the Cavs, they kept it close in the first half. It felt like they were just toying around. Then the second half, they pit throat on neck, and they just had their way with them. So it's going to be a tough year for the Wiz. If you're a Wiz fan, just hold out that you're going to get Cooper Flag. That's your hope. And that's all I want to recap because I ain't watching the NBA last night.
Good to hear. I haven't watched any NBA this season, so
Fair enough. All right, let's go to Abu Dhabi. How did your parlays and predictions go? Like I said, I didn't watch any of it, so I have nothing to add to this.
my predictions were pretty good. Outside of the obvious, Max Holloway did end up getting knocked out, which was really sad too because Holloway was up. Like round one was it could have been either, but round two and up to that point in three, Max was winning, and it's just crazy the amount of insane raw power that Taporia can just hit on you. I mean, I kind of saw it with Josh Emmett fight. Like we've never seen Josh Emmett rattled like that, and we've never seen someone be able to take the Josh Emmett punches to the face, like his his strings to the face, his
Mm.
combos. Yeah, it was just insane. Um, I was a little sad. Actually, no, not a little sad. I was very sad because my goat. Um, I mean, that was kind of the last for him. I don't think Holloway gets another chance at any kind of title. Um, he's getting up there in age, and I mean, honestly, at this point, it's like Holloway's fought everyone whose name is worthy. He doesn't have that much more to prove, nor does he have that much more he can climb to and make it to. Robert Whitaker broke his jaw. That was scary.
Yes.
Um, uh, Ankalaev just dominated Rakic. Um, honestly, Ankalaev, whatever his name is, kind of proved that he needs to work on his leg defense. That was really the only thing Rakic could do the whole fight. So he's going to. I think he kind of just needs to improve his little bit of his takedown ability, which will
Okay.
probably help him defend his legs a little bit better. And then outside of that, I didn't really watch much more of the card because I was in a bar crawl in DC. I
There you
did
go.
watch the Ebo Aslan fight, and Aslan was the technical underdog, even though it was pretty much a pick 'em. But his knockout was also scary. He just got him. I mean, Raphael was undefeated, but he just hit him one good time, and it was just gone. He was out.
Fair enough. Yeah. Like I said, I didn't catch this fight, so don't have much to say. But I know the next pay per view is in MSG. I think John Jones and Tyopic or whatever his name is going to fight. So it's about a month away.
Stupid.
So yeah, yeah, should be a sometime next month.
I'm
MSG. So it
excited.
should be interesting.
I'm excited for the next fight night. I think the next fight night, which is the next card they have, it's not the main event, but I think the next fight night is very, very fun. Mainly, I think it's fun because Derek Lewis is on it, so I'll always take a Derek Lewis card.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Something to look forward to on Thursday's episode. So we'll cover that then. But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover. So anything else before we head on out?
No, that's it. We had a good show.
Good show. Covered a lot. Got a lot done. So all good stuff all around. So guys, we'll head on out. NTL Sports episode 120, 125. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, all that good stuff. And we're going to head on out. Peace.